Governor Sheriff Oborevwori inaugurates Internally Displaced Persons Management Committee for Okwama Community. State House of Assembly underscored the need for public awareness on Delta State public and private properties protection law. Anti-Graft Agency Chairman threatened to resign if the immediate past governor of Kogi State fails to face the law. And abroad, Iranian presidents open hydropower and irrigation project in Sri Lanka to foster bilateral ties. Good evening. Thank you for joining us on Delta Television News. My name is Pauline Okolie. Governor Sheriff Oborevwori has inaugurated Internally Displaced Persons IDP Management Committee as part of measures to bring succor to the displaced people of Okwama community in Ughelli South local government area. Ejime Udweme reports.
The committee has veteran journalist and former editor of the Guardian newspaper, Mr. Abraham Ogbodo, as chairman, with the director of personnel management in the Ughelli South local government, Chief Austin Maduku, as secretary. Other members are Senator Emmanuel Agwariawodo, Honorable Festus Otuama, Honorable Ruben Izeze, Dr. Richard Kofi, Chief Oviri Uto, Honorable Josephine Odwara, Obukoko Henry Ediyo, Caro Ovemaso, and Austin Ohofaria, who will serve as camp commandant. Inaugurating the committee at the Government House, Asaba, Governor Oborevwori mandated the committee to carefully plan the resettlement and rehabilitation of the innocent citizens of Okwama community. The governor pledged to do everything possible to reduce to the barest minimum the attendant effects of the crisis on the people of the community. He charged the committee to be transparent, thorough, and selfless in its assignment.
I sincerely believe that sooner or later, the innocent ones be allowed to return to their homes. It is now ripe for government to set up a committee to plan their resettlement and rehabilitation ahead of their return. This is the minimum we owe our people. We have to reassure them to have a sense of belonging as we make adequate arrangements for their settlement and rehabilitation.
Responding on behalf of members of the committee, the chairman, Mr. Abraham Ogbodo, expressed appreciation to the governor for finding them worthy to serve, saying it was a call to service.
We have a humanitarian crisis in our hands. It is not time now to discuss the circumstances that created the crisis. What we are up to now is how do we contain and manage this crisis.
He assured the governor and Deltans that they will justify the trust reposed in them. Ejime Udweme reporting.
Meanwhile, Governor Sheriff Oborevwori has pledged that the state government will work with other stakeholders to resettle citizens of Okwama who were displaced in the recent crisis that rocked the community. Governor Oborevwori gave the assurance when he received the House of Representatives Committee on Defense, led by Honorable Babajimi Benson, at the Government House, Asaba. Ejime Udweme reports.
The governor said that President Bola Tinubu and the Army High Command had assured that no innocent citizen of the community would suffer as a result of the crisis, and disclosed that efforts were on top gear to rehabilitate the people. He expressed confidence that the caliber of persons in the committee will be able to unravel the remote causes of the crisis that claimed the lives of 17 military men. He said it was unfortunate that the ugly incident occurred after a peace accord was signed by the Okoloba and Okwama communities. He pledged to assist the committee in their fact-finding mission to the state.
So we must do our best to keep peace. In my more agenda, I promised Delta there will be enhanced peace and security. I want to show Delta that we are keeping to it, we are doing our best. We know that it has happened, but we cannot question God. What is more important now, the People have been buried, and succor has been given to our people.
In the art in its entirety, he called on the military to commence the process for the return of innocent citizens to Okwama. Honorable Benson appealed to President Bola Tinubu to help in rebuilding the town, as colossal destruction would have been recorded, pointing out that the visit was not to victimize anybody, but aimed at resolving the issues amicably.
We believe that count should any life be cut short in such horrendous manner. Therefore, we urge the relevant authorities to ensure that the perpetrators of these heinous acts are brought to justice. It is in the light of this unfortunate event that the House of Representatives at its plenary on March 19 debated a motion on the matter and resolved that this committee should investigate the incident and report back to the House for further legislative actions.
He commended Governor Boriwori for synergizing with the president, the military, and other stakeholders in peaceful resolution of the crisis and safe return of the Ewu King from detention. Ejime Uduime reporting.
The State House of Assembly has underscored the need for a public awareness campaign to sensitize Deltans on the existence and contents of the Delta State Public and Private Properties Protection Law in order to checkmate the menace of land grabbers in the state. This formed part of recommendations submitted to the House by the Public Petitions Committee, led chairman and member representing Ughelli North 1 constituency, Honorable Matthew Omonade, and the alleged use of force and threat of violence in taking over parts of landed property belonging to the Civil Service Commission and staff of the Multipurpose Cooperative Society Limited at Amachai Community, Okpanam, in Oshimiri North Local Government Area by Mr. Friday and others operating under the Okpanam Land Recovery Committee. Favor Okafor has details.
Reeling out its findings, the committee chairman, Honorable Matthew Omonade, said upon the committee's investigation, it was gathered that the landed property rightly belongs to the Civil Service Commission and the Staff Multipurpose Cooperative Society after being legally purchased from the then owner, Chief Dominic Anyasi, the in honor of Okpanam in 2012, where Mr. Friday Okonkwo, being the youth leader of the community, signed a memorandum of understanding and deed of conveyance transferred to the petitioner. He said the petitioner took over the possession of the property and allotted same to its members in 2012 without any atom of harassment until 11 years after, when Mr. Friday Okonkwo, leading one Mr. Felix Okeleke and Austin Okoli, and all youths operating under the Okpanam Land Recovery Committee, took to use force to taking over parts of the land of the petitioner, boasting to have sold same to unknown persons. The committee then recommended that the House direct Mr. Friday Okonkwo, Felix Okeleke, and Austin Okoli, and other youths operating under the Okpanam Land Recovery Committee, their agents, servants, or privates, from entering or further interfering with the property, calling on the Attorney General and Commissioner of Justice of the state to ensure that Mr. Friday Okonkwo and his cohorts be prosecuted in accordance with the law, and also calling on the House Committees on Information and Legislative Compliance to liaise with the relevant government agency to sensitize Deltans on the existence of the Delta State Public and Private Protection Law.
That there is a need for an amendment of the Delta State Public and Private Protection Law 2018 to provide for the establishment of a task force unit for the effective implementation of the law. That pursuant to Section 195(1) of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the Attorney General of Delta State is the Chief Law Officer of Delta State and Commissioner for Justice of the Government of Delta State.
The lawmakers who spoke on the committee's recommendation said the law prohibited the forceful entry and illegal occupation of private and public landed properties, as such act was punishable under the law.
The punishment that will serve as a deterrent to other Fridays that we have in the so that this issue of land grabbing and the issue of violating laws enacted by this honorable house will be put to a stop.
Later in an interview, the Chairman House Committee on Compliance and Deputy Speaker Honorable Arthur Akbawowo assured Deltons that the committee will ensure that standing laws in the state were strictly adhered to. Favor Kafo reporting.
As part of efforts to better reposition the Delta Broadcasting Service (DBS) Asaba for effective service delivery, the station organized a one-day training for staff in the news program, marketing and information communication technology departments. Henry Usiayo reports.
Declaring the one-day training workshop open, the General Manager of Delta Broadcasting Service (DBS) Asaba, Mrs. Christine Emetulu, said it was part of management's commitment towards the development of the station. Mrs. Emetulu noted that information dissemination had gone beyond the era of flat screen and gone technical, hence the need for the station to always produce standard programs and news contents that will meet the yearning of its audience. The General Manager urged participants to make use of what they have learned in the training to better the station.
The objective of this training is to scale up our brand, that the content we put out to the public, so as to attract more listeners, viewers, and by extension, more advertisement patronage. Today, information dissemination has gone beyond the flat screens to our handsets. That is information as you go, and DBS cannot be an exemption.
The resource person, Mr. Aro Leonard, a development communications, social transformation, and broadcast expert, trained the participants on creative program production. Mr. Leonard harped on the need for media practitioners in Delta State to tell their own unique story. He emphasized that the inability of media practitioners to better tell the developmental story in the state had created a wrong perception of the state in the mind of people.
As a broadcaster, you should be more conscious about what happens around you. Look at yourself. What are the things you go through? Are there issues you could deal with? Now you move along the street, there are fissures every day. So be conscious about what happens around your environment as a media person. No matter where you are in Nigeria, just be conscious and then see how you can turn that into a positive story.
Participants were trained on idea generation for programs, target audience characteristics, scripting, programs, and leveraging on the social media for revenue generation. They shared how they will use the training for the betterment of the station as well as improve on professionalism.
Yes, to me, you see, this is one program that is actually rare, and I must thank management for putting all of this together. We do hope that, I do hope, and by extension, other members who also participated in this training will run with the knowledge that we've had today.
In broadcasting, learning is continuous. I must tell you that in these last few hours, we have learned and unlearned some skills. And it's a beautiful thing to actually go out there and put into practice what we have learned.
We truly appreciate you because we put everything we've learned into use. Thank you so much. And you also strengthening the moral agenda with all of this you have done.
It's been a very great opportunity for me that I will add into doing things.
Broadcasting has gone beyond just terrestrial, that we are now global. Yes, with social media, and without ICT, we cannot get what, even if you have content, without the units, that ICT. So what my take home now is that I have to be hard on my ICT.
Things in a sentence. What is this program all about? Who is the target audience? What am I expecting as a feedback of the program?
Of broadcasting, you can never get tired of learning. We learn each day, and I've learned a lot on this session of training.
The general manager assured that some of the tips given by the resource person will be put into practice by the station.
We must grow the brand. Or something you mentioned about business, you linked it to the particular media organization, that there are businesses in the environment. So we're also going to live here today with one or two businesses that we can introduce, and between now and the middle of May, you'll see some of these businesses springing up.
Training and retraining of staff is critical to the development and growth of any organization, especially the broadcast outfit, who is responsible for the informing, educating, and entertaining their audience. Henry Usiayo reports.
The Executive Assistant to the State Governor on Communication, Dr. Fred Ogenesiwe, and said the state government is not aware of acute insecurity in the state that would warrant panic or the inability of Deltans to go about their normal socio-economic activities. Dr. Oyanesi, who said this on a live radio program, stressed that issues of land disputes and crowd-related activities in few communities and in some parts of the Ika nation should not be mistaken for serious insecurity challenges across the state, saying that the governor had directed that all land disputes be looked into and resolved to enhance peaceful coexistence among the various communities across the state. He posited that the alleged security situation in Ika nation should be properly investigated by security operatives to unravel the immediate and remote causes, while urging community leaders, elected representatives, and local council helmsmen to join efforts with security operatives to urgently put on security and end to security breaches. Dr. Oyanesi noted that the alleged security breaches in some communities in Ika nation had not been widely reported and called on the people of the area to always speak out anytime they experience threats against peace and safety of lives and property. He assured the public that his office would interface with the State Police Command and the Office of the Secretary to the state government to look into the alleged security breaches in some Ika communities with a view to tackling them headlong. The executive assistant enjoined communities to work closely with security agencies and their representatives in government, elected or appointed, to sustain peace and security in their various areas. He commended the efforts of the governor tackling insecurity across the state and established PACE, saying existing PACE would continue to attract tourists and investors to the state. Governor Sheriff Obrewori has congratulated his Akwa Ibom counterpart, Pastor Umo Eno, on his 60th birth anniversary. Governor Obrewori, in a statement by his Chief Press Secretary, Sir Festus Ahun, lauded the Akwa Ibom governor for his excellence in implementing his Arise agenda, a visionary plan aimed at propelling the state's socio-economic growth and transforming the lives of its citizens. He described the governor as a management expert, an impactful administrator, and commended him for his patriotic service to the state and the nation. The governor stated that Governor Eno's unique approach to governance had lifted the fortunes of Akwa Ibom state indigents through his massive implementation of his administration's agenda. He says since assuming office as governor of Akwa Ibom, Pastor Eno had remained committed to upholding good governance, which he said was based on the necessity of improving the state's development, peace and security, as well as the standard of living of its citizens. Governor Obrewori said the celebrant's 5-point agenda of agricultural revolution, rural development, infrastructure maintenance and advancement, security management and educational advancement has created a vibrant economy for citizens of his state. He described the Akwa Ibom governor as an outstanding professional and a promise keeper and wished him more eventful years at 60. In another development, Governor Sheriff Obrewori has commiserated with the Onyobi family and people of Asaba over the passing of the ESA of Asaba, Chief Patrick Onyobi. In a condolence message by his Chief Press Secretary, Sir Festus Ahon in Asaba, Governor Obrewori expressed sadness over the passing of Chief Onyobi, describing it as a big blow to the Onyobi family, Idumoje village, the people of Asaba and Delta State, considering his immense contributions to the traditional institution and the state capital. He described the deceased as a fine gentleman, model administrator and community leader with impeccable leadership qualities who contributed to the growth and development of his community and the state. The governor said Chief Onyobi was astutely dedicated to the cause of helping others, among numerous other extraordinary life achievements which distinguished him as a wonderful mentor and role model whose works would continue to motivate the next generation. He prayed God to grant the family fortitude to cope with the loss. The late Chief Patrick Onyobi, who passed on at 90, was a former secretary to government and head of the civil service of the defunct Bendel State. Until his passing, he was the Diokba of Idumoje village, Umueze quarters, Asaba, and traditional Prime Minister of Asaba. Chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, Mr. Olukoyede, has said he will tender his resignation if the immediate past governor of Kogi State, Mr. Yahaya Bello, does not face the law. Speaking to newsmen at the EFCC headquarters in Jabi, Abuja, the anti-graft agency chairman vowed that all those who obstructed the arrest of the former governor will be brought to justice. The EFCC had on April 18 declared Mr. Bello wanted over an alleged 80 billion naira financial crime, but is yet to appear in court for scheduled arraignment since he was declared wanted. The EFCC chairman said he made a direct phone call to Mr. Bello out of respect, urging him to appear before the commission and address the charges against him, adding that the former governor declined the invitation. Mr. Bello has, however, denied that he was invited, daring the anti-graft agency to produce a copy of the invitation letter and accusing the EFCC of spreading lies. Among the accusations against the former governor is the alleged transfer of $720,000 from the government's coffers to a bureau de change before leaving office to pay in advance for his child's school fees. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has filed a fresh 4-count charge against former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Mr. Godwin Emefiele. The charges bordering on disobeying the law to punish Nigerians, illegal printing of money, abuse of office, and other offenses were filed before Justice Hamza Muazu at the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory by EFCC prosecutor Rotimi Oyedepo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. The EFCC in the suit alleged that Mr. Emefiele approved the printing of 684.5 million naira with 18.9 billion naira without the recommendation of the board of the central bank and the strict approval of the president, an offense punishable under Section 123 of the Penal Code Law of the Federation. The agency also accused Mr. Emefiele of illegally approving the withdrawal of 124.8 billion naira from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation in a manner not prescribed by the National Assembly, thus knowingly disobeying the direction of Section 80 of the Constitution. According to the charges, the actions of the former CBN governor were carried out with the intent to cause injury to the public, thereby constituting an offense. Tomato farms in Kano State are again under siege by the deadly Tuta absoluta pest, raising concerns about an impending tomato shortage across the country. Assessment by farmers revealed that 4,621 hectares of tomato farms valued at 1 billion naira are presently impacted by the disease, and it has been advanced that without intervention within the next 1 to 2 weeks, Kano farmers could suffer losses ranging from 10 billion to 20 billion naira. Maybredi highlighted the unfortunate timing of the disease outbreak occurring after farmers had invested in their crops, leading to significant losses. The farmers have called on both state and federal governments to intervene by providing farmers with certified seeds and standard insecticides to mitigate losses. They have also called for assistance to okra farmers affected by a similar outbreak in the previous season, while stressing the need for government's collaboration with international companies to acquire and distribute farm inputs to prevent such losses, which adversely impact the nation's economy. You're watching Delta Television News at 8. Up ahead, Iranian presidents open hydropower and irrigation project in Sri Lanka to foster bilateral ties. Please stay with us. We'll be back. you back to Delta Television News. The global scene is next as we join our World News Desk.
Ibrahim Raisi of Iran today opened a hydropower and irrigation project in Sri Lanka during a brief visit to the South Asian country to foster bilateral ties. The Iranian president arrived in the country earlier in the day at the invitation of his Sri Lankan counterpart Ranil Wickremesinghe after a trip to Pakistan. The Umayyah hydropower complex, a mega project financed by Iran, was initially launched in 2013 and was scheduled to be inaugurated in 2015 but was delayed due to US-led sanctions. The project is valued at about $514 million. In Sri Lanka, Raisi is scheduled to meet high-ranking officials and sign a number of cooperation documents. Jamaica today announced its recognition of the State of Palestine, bringing the number of countries that recognize the State of Palestine to 142 countries. Jamaica had continued to advocate for a two-state solution as the only viable option to resolve the long-standing conflict, guarantee the security of Israel, and uphold the dignity and rights of Palestinians. Jamaica's Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Kamina Johnson-Smith, said following deliberations in her country's cabinet, Jamaica's Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Kamina Johnson-Smith, said following deliberations in her country's cabinet, by recognizing the State of Palestine, Jamaica strengthens its advocacy towards a peaceful solution. She said position to align with Jamaica's strong commitment to the principles of the Charter of the United Nations, which seek to engender mutual respect and peaceful coexistence among states, as well as the recognition of the right of peoples to self-determination. The minister reiterated Jamaica's concern regarding the war in Gaza and the ever-deepening humanitarian crisis, together with the government's advocacy for a peaceful resolution of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict through diplomatic dialogue rather than military actions. She reaffirmed Jamaica's support for an immediate ceasefire, the release of hostages, and increased access to humanitarian aid for the people of Gaza, especially the many women and children who are suffering daily. The minister said Jamaica continues to support all efforts for de-escalation and the establishment of lasting peace in the region, imploring all parties to consider the dire consequences of further conflict and commit to diplomatic solutions, ensuring the safety and sovereignty of all. A dramatic orange haze has descended over Athens as clouds of dust have blown in from the Sahara Desert. Officials say it is one of the worst such episodes to hit Greece since 2018. Greece had already been struck by similar clouds in late March and early April, which also covered areas of Switzerland and southern France. Air quality has deteriorated in many areas of the country, and this morning the Acropolis in Athens was no longer visible because of the dust. Air quality had deteriorated in many areas of the country, and this morning the Acropolis in Athens was no longer visible because of the dust, while the cloud had reached as far north, Thessaloniki. Greeks with respiratory conditions have been urged to limit the time they spend outdoors, wear protective masks, and avoid taking physical exercise until the dust clouds clear. The Sahara releases 60 to 200 million tons of mineral dust per year. Most of the dust quickly descends to Earth, but some of the small particles can travel huge distances, sometimes reaching Europe. The atmosphere, especially in southern Greece, has become stifling because of the combination of dust and high temperatures. The fire service yesterday reported 25 wildfires in the past 24 hours.
Away from the foreign scene and back home, Governor Sheriff Oberewori has called on Dovie of Ewurobo Kingdom, in Ughelli South local government area, Urukpedi First, to embark on a unity tour of his domain for lasting peace and development. Governor Oberewori made a call when he received the Ewurobo monarch and his wife, who were in Government House, to express appreciation to the governor for the role he played while the traditional ruler was in military custody. Ejimu Dueme reports.
Who congratulated the monarch on his release, declared that God had delivered him, adding that the task before him now was to pull the people of Ewu Urubu together to strengthen sustainable peace and unity in their area. Governor Boriwuri told the monarch that he had inaugurated the Ewu IDP camp, which will soon be open. He assured the royal father that the innocent people in his kingdom would not suffer, adding that his administration would do its best to resettle the displaced persons back in their community.
I want to assure you that people in your kingdom, the innocent citizens of that kingdom, will not suffer. Very clear. We'll do our best to resettle them back was the gradual process. First is how to bring them to the camp, the IDP camp. Then we think of how we relate with the military to see how they can be taken back to their community.
Earlier, the Ewu Urubu monarch, who was accompanied by members of the Delta State Traditional Rulers Council, led by the chairman of the council, and Oroje of Okwe, Orue I, said he was in the... While condemning the tragic Ukwama incident that led to the demise of 4 military officers and 13 soldiers, the monarch reiterated that he knew nothing about the dastardly act, just as he commended his people, the Urubu nation, veterans and Nigerians for their prayers and solidarity during his trying moments.
As the Ovio of the Urubu kingdom, it is my solemn duty to uphold the peace and prosperity of our land. I reaffirm my commitment to working collaboratively with all relevant stakeholders, including the government and security agencies, to foster a safe and secure environment for all our citizens.
Also speaking during the visit, the Oroje of Okwe, Urue I, who presented the released monarch to the governor, said traditional rulers in the state were deeply touched by the trauma that one of their own went through in the hands of the military for 3 weeks. He sued for peace in Ewu Urubu Kingdom and other parts of the state so as to fast-track sustainable development in all sectors of the state's economy. Ejime Uduime reporting.
We'll now bring you business news from our business news desk.
Global oil markets may continue to see sharp swings in crude oil prices following signs of possible escalation of tension in the Middle East. Though oil on Monday inched lower on limited fresh signs of escalating conflict in the Middle East, but prices hover above monthly lows as technical support limited losses. West Texas Intermediate's most active June contract settled near $83 per barrel after plunging 1.9% earlier, as the 50-day moving average provided some support. Still, with the U.S. Congress moving to sanction Iran oil sector and the conflict between Israel and Iran remaining tense, prices may continue to see sharp swings since February. In a move to further revitalize the oil and gas industry contribution to the Nigerian economy, the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, yesterday presided over a signing ceremony at the Federal Ministry of Finance headquarters in Abuja, endorsing the consolidated guidelines for the implementation of fiscal incentives for the oil and gas sector. This is a cornerstone of the presidential directive aimed at enhancing the Nigerian oil and gas sector's global competitiveness while stimulating economic growth. As disclosed during the signing, the presidential directives were developed and coordinated by the Special Advisor to the President on Energy, Mr. Olu Vanjan, to ensure a competitive framework for the Nigerian oil and gas industry. These consolidated guidelines for the fiscal incentives are based on extensive collaboration across finance and petroleum ministries and involve several key regulatory bodies, including the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, NUPRC, and the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, NMDPRA. According to Mr. Vanjan, These new measures have been designed to deliver a competitive internal rate of return (IRR) for oil and gas projects and attract over $10 billion in a new investment within the next 12 to 18 months. They also underscored Nigeria's commitment to reaching its long-term production target of 4 million barrels per day, whilst enhancing the reliability of gas supply to boost export earnings and fuel Nigeria's industrialization.
We now bring on entertainment news from our entertainment news desk for happenings around the world of showbiz.
The Nigerian Copyright Commission has recognized Nigeria's Nobel laureate in literature, Professor Wole Soyinka, as its commission's first copyright change champion. NCC Director General Dr. John Asen made the declaration at the 2024 World Book and Copyright Day celebration in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. The day is set aside by the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, to focus on books, celebrate authors, promote reading, and raise copyright awareness. Professor Wole Soyinka was unarguably the tallest living Iroquois in Nigeria's rich literary forest and advocate for books, reading and copyright. The Copyright Board said a befitting birthday celebration of the literary icon, the Commission would be calling on stakeholders in the book industry to recognize July 13 as Nigeria's National Reading Day to encourage Nigerians to read for pleasure and draw attention to some of the values advanced by Professor Soyinka in the literary world. The Court of Appeal, Lagos Division, has reversed judgments on the appeal filed by Nollywood actor Baba Ijesha following being convicted of sexual assaults of a minor and sentenced to 16 years in prison. Baba Ijesha asked the appellate court to overturn the judgments of the lower court. During the appeal, Baba Ijesha's lawyer, Kayode Olabiran, argued that the prosecution could not prove the age of the victim he assaulted. He also argued that the actor was set up. Recall, Baba Ijesha was detained on April 22, 2021 after the Lagos State Police Command announced his arrest for allegedly sexually assaulting a 14-year-old girl in the care of Nollywood actress Princess. Clinical reports on the minor showed that Baba Ijesha allegedly engaged the child in sexual activities on several occasions. He was found guilty on 4 of the 6 counts he faced. Veteran Nollywood actor Mr. Zulu Adigwe has died. The news of his death was confirmed by a movie producer, Stanley Nwoko, on Instagram. He added that the cause of the actor's death was yet to be revealed. Adigwe most recently played the role of Pascal More in Ransinoa's remake of the classic Living in Bondage. He had not initially studied theatre at university. He had been enrolled at the University of Austria, where he briefly studied medicine. He also had his primary and secondary education in Austria. After his father's death, he returned to Nigeria and studied theatre arts at the University of Ibadan. Zulu Adigwe starred in many Nollywood movies, including Blood of the Orphan, Blood Diamonds, Face of a Liar, Unforgettable, Isakaba, and Forbidden.
Our thoughts for the day. Children hear everything you say, and they mimic everything you do. Give them a good example. Let's take a look at our highlights before we go. Governor Sheriff Oborewori has inaugurated the Internally Displaced Persons IDP Management Committee as part of measures to bring succor to the displaced people of Okwama community in Urieli South local government area. Governor Sheriff Oborewori has called on Dovie of Ewu Kingdom in Urieli South local government area, Urukbe the First, to embark on a unity tour of his domain for lasting peace and development. The State House of Assembly has underscored the need for a public awareness campaign to sensitize Deltans on the existence and contents of the Delta State Public and Private Properties Protection Law in order to checkmate the menace of land grabbers in the state. Chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, Mr. Ola Olukoyede, has said he will tender his resignation if the immediate past governor of Kogi State, Mr. Yahaya Bello, does not face the law. Speaking to newsmen at the EFCC headquarters in Jabi, Abuja, the anti-graft agency chairman vowed that all those who obstructed the arrest of the former governor will be brought to justice. And abroad, President Ibrahim Raisi of Iran today opened a hydropower and irrigation project in Sri Lanka during a brief visit to the South Asian country to foster bilateral ties. That's our news tonight on Delta Television. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Pauline Okolie. Good night.